You're rocking with the best. It's the world's loudest hip-hop show, the Beatz Lyrics Show. Once again, yours truly, Jayforce.
Twice born to God, ArtByOdell.
And we still up in here with the wonderful Supa Dave West. Producer extraordinaire as usual. There he is. Making transitions, man, all sorts of transitions and doing great work, man. And which brings up to one of my next questions I was gonna bring up to you, man. It's like a lot of times, man, like just being hip hop geeks and nerds in a lot of ways, man, you know, sometimes I miss the days where you can kind of like get an album, and I would go to Tower Records or go anywhere and re-buy an album, and you look at the liner notes, and a lot of times how you become accustomed and get to know the producers by reading the liner notes.
Right.
And you know, when I think about it, a lot of times, man, before I even knew what you looked like, I knew your name. You know,
exactly.
I was like, I just seen your name. Mm-hmm. The game is changing now, man. Like from like the era of '96, where you know guys were commanding like $100,000 for a beat, beat wise, and stuff like that, man. How has the game changed from a business aspect of it that you have to adapt to it? In which ways, for the good and for the worse? I mean, what's good about it? What's worse about it? Now that we're in 2014, in terms of putting your beats out and things of that nature.
Well, you know, like you said, there's a lot of branding, right?
Yeah, because now people have digital albums, so they don't really take the time to kind of figure out who produced this track that I really dig off of this artist's album. You know?
you gotta speak out a certain way. I mean, it's gotta get. You can't. Somebody told me, what is it? The trends are our friends,
right?
To a certain extent, like you have to kind of go with that, because if that's the call of the day, like that's how people are realizing music and finding it. Like you got to jump in and do some of that. You know, the budgets are not what they were, obviously.
Right.
Man, there's a lot of cheap money sloshing around, and I say that very carefully. But what I mean by that is just like the almighty CD was it.
Right.
So when that format blew, it's like the bottom of that fell out, you know. So it stopped, you know, it wasn't, what's the equity in buying, you know, a beat from me for 25 stacks and it's gonna leak?
Right.
That was the first fear, like, you know, when dealing with selling beats and stuff like that.
Right.
And then somewhere in the middle of that, you just had to still love it. Like that weeded out a lot of motherfuckers right there. Oh shit, I just not my hustle. You know?
Yeah, because they treated it like a hustle.
This ain't my next hustle outside of, you know, slinging shit. Like, damn, I ain't fucking with this. So the real music dudes weathered that storm a certain way. But then it had to rebuild, you know what I'm saying? And it had to come back a certain way. And so now everybody has little ways that can fit their formulas in. But shit. There's a lot of records I didn't do in the last 10 years because of, you know, just not what I did.
Right. How do you feel? I mean, I'm gonna go to you.
I don't know if I answered that question, but
I mean that's partially what I was gonna ask. So part of it that I was about to get ready to say too is like it's a lot to that question. It is a lot because you know, I mean, sometimes I want to know when I ask people that question is because now you see a lot of people getting on. Like Fruity Loops or Undercut. It's like DJs, for example. Like somebody might say, okay, I'm going to do this party, and I'm going to do the party for $50 where I can have so-and-so do this party, but they're on Serato and they didn't come up through the ranks of like studying musicality. They didn't play the drums, they didn't play the piano, they didn't come through the gospel aspect like somebody like yourself who's trained. Like I think of other people I know who I'm not going to say right now. I know other people I know who've joined production teams for somebody, and then it might be a bigger name person say they produced it, but they didn't really produce it, but you know, you're getting like a little check here. Yeah, the ghost producing thing, you know.
The thing with the ghost writers, you can't get mad at it. If you agree to that, don't get mad at that shit.
Right.
And if somebody, you know, you out the box.
And that goes for ghost producing too?
That goes for ghost writing, all of that.
Right.
You come in and you agree to that, don't get mad when some shit blow and your name ain't exactly connected to it. Now that you know that branding needs to come to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's being put together in real time. This is like Super 79 again, you know what I mean?
Right.
So now it's like, oh shit, I would have been bigger if the niggas knew who the fuck I was when I did this shit. No, that was an isolated thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's a different world, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, you gotta take all the stuff that you do and use it now. You know, that's what it is. Like DJs and producers, you know, one and the same. You started, you know, as a DJ and graduating in production. Yeah, so now the performance thing, in and everything around music is what's moving, parties.
Right.
And you know, the stuff that's the money maker off of the energy of the music. Yeah, you might have to fall back on some of that. It doesn't take away from who you are. Just, you know, do some of that too. But just try to stay in there and then build for like what's coming. Like what is obviously going to happen and be put back together, another format. You know what I'm saying? Just be on the front edge of that shit. You know what I'm saying?
You know, earlier we were talking, we touched on a little bit about, you know, the work we were doing with De La Soul, and, you know, a lot of people, you know, after the whole Stakes is High album, you know, you kind of basically did a lot of, the majority of their work. You kind of brought out instrumentation and, you know, kind of helped them kind of rebrand themselves in a sense. And you talked about how the music industry has changed. That kind of changed as well as far as production, because you could kind of see how a producer would give it a group, and you could tell that you guys, you weren't emailing no beats and stuff. Y'all were really working together, you know, suggesting things, and maybe suggest things to you, and y'all really working together. Has that kind of been lost now as far as producer really getting with a group and really kind of investing himself with it and building that sound together?
In some ways it has, in some ways it hasn't. It depends on the group, and it depends on the nature and how you build music. You know what I mean? Like, we were studio culture dudes, we still are. So it was about meeting in the studio. It was about coming to, yo, bring that shit when you come.
Right.
And like play that shit for 50 niggas. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh shit, that's the one. You know, the same way, you know, that crew A&R'd themselves through that 80s period. You know what I mean? When they was doing their records, Tribe was in the studios. Tribe was in the Jungle was in the studio. Studio culture, community.
That whole native tongue environment.
Records like that, I don't know. I'm sure with big budget, niggas should spend a little more time and pay a little bit more attention. But on some homegrown shit, I don't know too many people doing it like that. Because it's very like, send me that shit at MP3. You know, like, it's hard for me to work with a lot of people because I don't come from that. So I don't want you to send me something back and then I have to say, no, I'd rather have the camaraderie when we're working, and I can say there, nah, let's do this like this and change that up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we're musicians, we're musicality niggas. We're not, you know, hitting each other's ego. But somebody sends me something that they feel is finished and I don't. You know, we bang on drums in Africa together. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was a community.
And you come from that natural environment where you're orchestrating.
Yeah, band rehearsals and all that. So to come in with Daylight, that's what that was about.
Indeed.
You know?
Look, let's talk a little bit about the one of my favorite songs that we play on the show, actually a lot, you know, is The Dough that you produced for J Dilla. And that's like one of my personal favorite joints, and I run it ridiculously. Talk a little bit about your relationship with Dilla, and also you had another joint that you produced for Dilla too, right? That was off. Talk a little bit about that project, and then we're going to segue into what you have now.
Jay was just special, man. And we you know, we hollered a lot too. You know, we talk shop. We talk, you know, angles and shit. Like, how many different ways you can flip this shit? Like, we really talk like that. Like, no, I'm gonna reverse this shit. Oh, that's crazy. So when we got together and worked, it was like, yo, it's some of my favorite niggas I fuck with. I wanna fuck with y'all, I just wanna spit. He's making this transition into kind of what Ye did. And so that's what it was. So when I got with him, you know, he picked me up. I was in somebody's crib in Detroit. I was visiting family, going on my way to Canada. He picked me up. He's like, yo, first of all, I'm fucking with you because you don't sound like me. That's the first thing he said to me.
That's what's up.
He said, you don't sound like me. When I hear your shit, it made me want to go back and work. That's what he said to me. So it was like, from there, like, because you know, he had a lot of shit with that originality. Don't fuck with my shit. Like, be original. Like, let's inspire each other. But you know, he's kind of like snap, quick, touchy with that. So our relationship was just 100. You know what I'm saying? And he played me a lot of dope music. When I got in that truck, he played me like 35 joints I never heard again to this day. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
that was just 35 that you know about.
That I knew about. He did so much music. He was addicted to doing music.
So
our
relationship catalog was crazy.
Yeah, he just didn't give a fuck. He was just like, yo, I'm doing music. Y'all do that shit. I'm going back to the crib. Like, he was about that life. Like a soldier for that shit. So I respect him and I love him for that. And just a moment in time to be able to do that, work in the studio, play him some shit that he bugged out over, called me and feel like, this shit is crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
to
right,
hear
right.
what he did over it, and
No doubt.
you know,
no doubt.
he brought me to House Shoes crib, and which House Shoes had on House Shoes.
Yeah, big shout out to House
You know what I'm
Shoes,
saying? We was in the rain, he had on House Shoes, like, this shit is not a game.
This nigga's really.
Wearing House Shoes, you know what I'm saying? So it was like the Detroit experience was like, God damn, this shit is thick down here. You
Yeah,
know?
right.
And yeah, just the music and the joints. He actually demoed up 2 more. They were lost. You know, some sessions or whatever. He picked a couple from them.
That's what's up,
You know what I'm
man.
saying? But just to be a part of that was crazy. Just to have him say Supa Dave West, Dilla Dog collabo on the record,
Right, right.
it's just kind of dope. You know what I mean?
That's what's up, man. Organic situation. So, yo, what we gonna do, man? We gonna come back with Supa Dave West. Right now, we gonna get to one of my favorite joints, Doe, J Dilla, produced by who?
Supa Dave West.
Right here on the Beatz Lyrics Show. Yours truly, Jayforce.
Flesh one to God.
ArtByOdell.
We'll be right back.
ABL.